Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matt, and I'm here with Venush, and the NBA offseason is in full swing. We have no idea how long it's going to be. I don't think anyone has any idea when or like if the season's going to start. Some people are saying March, some people are saying January, December. I don't think anyone really has any idea, but that's not really important right now because the NBA draft is pretty much exactly 3 weeks away, November 18th. Um, Teams have been working out players and meeting them in person. Like we got a couple reports the Warriors met with Denny Avdija. There's reports they're meeting with James Wiseman. So it's really in full swing. There's not a lot of time left until the draft. And kind of like we already talked about before, there's not really any consensus at all on pretty much anyone's big board. Like you look at 5 different big boards and they'll have 5 different top tens, 5 different bottom tens. Some guys won't even like some guys will be like not even in the top 60 that are in some guys top 30. It's really all over the place. But I think there's still a lot of really interesting players in this draft, especially I think there's a few really interesting point guards. Uh, so we're going to go into our top 30 today. Every player that we have in our top 30, everything you need to know about them, our thoughts, their pros, cons, everything like that. And this, like I said, this is our top 30 prospects. Obviously, team needs affect this draft probably more than any other draft in the last couple of years. But these are who we believe the top 30 prospects are. So I think let's get right into it. Coming in at number 30, we got Tre Jones, the point guard out of Duke.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 185. He's only 20 years old. So my pros for him is his size, obviously. He has a 6'4" wingspan. He produced pretty efficiently at Duke too, with 16 points and 6 assists. And he could shoot pretty well too. He shot, 36% from threes? Or he showed flashes of his shooting. But my cons are his explosiveness and finishing at the rim. I just don't think it's going to translate to the NBA level. And I think that's going to prevent him from being a starter in this league.
So, uh, like you said, he shot 36% from three this year. But if you
Hmm.
watched him last year as a freshman at Duke, he only shot 26%.
Yeah.
And he absolutely killed their spacing. Like, I'm not like Duke was considered a super team. Some people were saying they could have beaten the Cavs last year, the NBA Cavs.
Yeah.
Then they lost, and I forget what round it was in March Madness, but they lost.
Hmm.
Uh, and their spacing was one of the reasons that they fizzled out so early. And Tre Jones was one of the reasons their spacing was terrible because he was a terrible shooter.
Yeah.
He's always been a really good passer. I wouldn't call him a playmaker who's actively creating for his teammates and making them better. But he's a really good passer, doesn't turn the ball over, knows how to run a pick and roll. Uh, and like you said, his shooting improved to 30% this year. He averaged a lot more points, was a lot better of a scorer this year. Uh, but like you said, even if that shooting improvement is real, how dynamic of a playmaker and
Yeah.
ball handler is he going to be because he's not explosive and the at rim finishing, like you said, he's a small guy, smaller than his brother, who
Mhm.
is Tyus Jones, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, but another thing that we forgot to mention is he's probably the best point guard defender in college. He even last year when he sucked on offense, he has always been one of the best on ball point guard defenders. Tough, fights through screens, never gives up on a play, and I think a lot of teams are just going to love that about him, especially at the end of the first round.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of people saying he's a good on-ball defender. And I just see at the end of the day, if you're 6'3" as a point guard in the NCAA, you're a big point guard. If you're 6'3" as the point guard in the NBA, you're an average to small point guard. So like his best like on the defensive end, we've only seen one good small defender. Like no one talks about a small defender besides Fred VanVleet. They're all like above 6'4", like Marcus Smart, Pat Beverly, Drew Holiday. They're all like all the bigger end, and they always weigh a lot more than 185 too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he has that strength to translate on the defensive end to the NBA level. So I'm not going to see him as a great NBA defender, and I just can't see him being anything more than a backup for his whole career.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that he's probably limited to a bench role. Even if that defense does translate to the level that it was in college, just how a guy who isn't going to be able to create his own shot and finish his own shots at the rim consistently is probably not going to be a starting level point guard, but I think he could be a really effective backup point guard, probably even right away, because he's a mature player, passer. That extra year in college really helped him because he would not have gone top, even probably even top 60 if he came out of college last year.
Yeah. So what
So
are your comps for him?
so I think Corey Joseph is a pretty decent comp because of the defense, the size. Corey Joseph is a little. They're about the same size, I think.
Yeah.
The shooting, pretty good playmaker, good passer, but not a dynamic scorer. Doesn't really actively make a huge make his teammates a lot better. And I also think his brother Tyus Jones is a decent comp too. Tyus Jones
Hmm.
is a better scorer, more explosive, but Trey Jones is a better defender than Tyus Jones was even in college.
Yeah. For my comps for him was his ceiling is kind of like the Norris Cole, someone who could just be a sixth or eighth man on like a championship level team. His floor is actually I have his brother, someone who
Hmm.
sticks around in the NBA but doesn't get minutes.
Yeah.
And then my comparison for him was DeLon Wright,
Oh.
just
Okay.
because someone that could play defense and like even though he guards point guards, he's not really a point guard. He plays
Mm-hmm.
next to a ball handler who could dribble and create shots. And I think if he gets in the right position, he could have a decent career. But if he doesn't get in the right position, he just might not get minutes.
Hmm. So you're saying my comp was Corey Joseph, your comp was DeLon Wright. Does that mean the
Yeah.
Raptors are taking him end of the first round?
I hope the Raptors don't take him because I want the Raptors to take more of a project player because
Hmm.
Tri Jones is more accomplished with less potential. So I want him to go to somewhere that he could compete right away, like a Lakers maybe.
Yeah. And another guy, so we'll move on to number 29 now. And I feel similarly what you just said about this guy, Cassius Winston, the
Hmm.
point guard out of Michigan State. Uh, I love Cassius Winston. I mean, he he runs like he's a smart pick and roll passer, scorer, decision maker. Shot 43% from three on a high volume. Good ball handling skills. He can shoot off the catch. He can shoot off the dribble in the mid range behind the arc. And he played 3 years, so he's probably going to be one of the more mentally, at least, NBA ready players in the entire draft. I think the only thing that you can really knock him on is 6'1", 185,
Hmm.
and not the most explosive guy in the world, and struggles to kind of create space for his own shots.
Yeah, I don't know if Cassius Winston's gonna be an NBA player beyond
Really,
beyond his rookie deal. Like I could see him being a backup, but 6'1" is so small. Like how many 6'1" players can you name that are as slow as Cassius Winston? Every 6'1" player in the NBA is rapid. They're always like the fastest players on the court. So I think Cassius Winston's explosiveness and his lack of speed is gonna hurt him. But I think he can be a backup. I just don't know if he'll be like the direct backup. He might be a third string point guard just to be a good locker room guy and just kind of fit in.
so I mean, you listen to all the things that I just said. Six
Mhm.
one, not not really athletically extremely gifted, but competes as a hard worker, shoots a good three, runs a good pick and roll.
Don't say it. Don't say
Who does
it.
that sound like? Come on.
Yeah, but like, how slow is Cassius Winston though?
Well,
You just
for
said
people
he
who didn't
wasn't
catch on,
explosive.
Kyle Lowry is who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to be Kyle Lowry because out of all the 6'1" players who are very, very skilled but not the most explosive guy in the world, Kyle Lowry's the 0.1%. That's a
Mhm.
six-time NBA All-Star. So I'm not saying he's going to be that, but by all reports, his maturity and mentality and stuff, all that kind of stuff is similar to Kyle Lowry. Like he competes defensively and all the stuff coaches want. I think while he probably will be limited to a bench role, I think he will be. Um, I think a team at the end of the first round will be really happy to get him because he's not really an exciting enough player to go higher, but
Yeah.
I think he'll be a fan favorite and coach favorite because he does all the little things, works really hard, doesn't really have holes in his game other than his athleticism and size.
Yeah. The difference is Kyle Lowry has like 40 pounds on him. And Kyle Lowry is able to
Yeah.
switch on to bigger guys and use his body and not get torn away. Like if Cassius Winston switches
No,
on
you're
to a
right.
small
You're
forward,
right.
it's over for him. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna get destroyed.
Kyle
But
Lowry is a better center defender than some centers are in the NBA. So
yeah, like I don't think that's the goodest comp for him. My comp for him was DJ Augustine. someone who could do
Okay.
absolutely everything on the floor, but
Okay.
just can't do it consistently and can't do it every night. But
Yeah.
some nights he'll have crazy games where he has 19 and 7
Mm.
and comes off the bench and helps your team win. I just want to see him
I
develop.
like that comp. I like that.
Yeah, I just want to see him develop his 3-point shot into like a dead eye shooter so he can stay in this league.
So if you hadn't noticed already, we've talked about DeLon Wright, Corey Joseph, Kyle Lowry, and DJ Augustine. So it's kind of obvious that we're Raptors fans.
Yeah,
Anyway, so let's number 28, Vernon Carey Jr. We have him a lot higher than a lot of other big boards. We have him
yeah,
number 28, the center out of Duke. What do you think of him?
yeah. This is my guy. The reason he's on the top 30 is probably because of me. Man, I just think he's such a good skilled scorer. Like he has probably the most skills as a center in this draft. And I don't think anyone could deny that. I think he's a decent rim protector, which a lot of people underrate. And I believe that he has good enough like fundamentals in his shot where he could stretch out to the 3-point line. He hasn't shown too much of it right now, but he has enough fundamentals, like with his jump shot, if you look at it, that he will be a 3-point shooter. And the cons is he's an old big, like he's an old school big.
Yeah,
Like
throwback.
yeah. And since he's a throwback big, he'll never be a starter. He'll always be a bench player.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's great at this like late end of the draft if you could get someone that could give you 10 points consistently off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's steal.
Yeah, so he's 6'10", 270.
Mhm.
270 at 6'10". That's pretty decent size.
That's
And
yeah.
um he's kind of sneaky athletic and mobile. Like you said, he's actually kind of an underrated rim protector, and he's kind of an
Hmm.
underrated like switch defender too. Like he's not obviously like in the lockdown switches, but he's
Yeah.
better than 6'10", 270 would make you think. And he's the
Hmm.
best post scorer in the draft by far, I think.
By
Like
far. Yeah.
like you said, so many moves in the post. And it's been inconsistent, but he's shown flashes of perimeter shooting and has a
Hmm.
decent handle for his size too. Good rebounder. Um, 6'10", I guess you could say, is kind of a knock on him that he's not 2 inches taller. He's a
Yeah.
very weak pick and roll defender, especially like when he gets guarding in space and like backpedaling. He gets really exposed on pick and rolls there. Not a good passer at all. Has tunnel vision. When
Hmm.
he's even if he gets doubled or and the defensive attention focuses on him, he doesn't make the right pass a lot of the time. And then 67% from the line. Like the centers who shoot high percentages from three all generally shoot higher than that from the line. But I mean, 67 is not horrible, and I guess there's room to grow
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. And his comps are pretty obvious. It's Enes Kanter as
Mm,
like the most comparable player to him, someone that could just come in and get you buckets,
yeah,
but is so bad defensively that
so bad.
they can't start for the whole game. Because
Hmm.
if it was just an offensive game, Enes Kanter would be a top center in the league, but he's so bad defensively that he can't
Hmm.
play.
Yeah.
So I think Vernon Curry, all he has to focus on is learning the game on the defensive end. And if you give him 2, 3 years to learn just the defensive end, he could be a solid backup player. Like I think he could be better than like Mason Plumlee already,
Oh
like
yeah,
just coming in and
yeah.
just scoring. So
He
I think he has
like
a long NBA career in front of him.
yeah, he's not like his game is totally different than Montrezl Harrell, but like I can see him playing a similar role
Hmm.
to a team, having a similar value to a team
Yeah,
to Montrezl Harrell, where he's not going to be able to start pretty much anywhere, but he
yeah,
can look like one of the most important players on a really good team coming off the bench and playing 20, 30 minutes even. Like okay, and I mean, you said Cantor, I agree with that. I think like he's not as good as Yusuf Nurkic, but I see some of that like with the kind of the sneaky quick
yeah,
feet. Like he has a lot quicker feet than Enes Cantor does, and
yeah.
the shooting touch is probably as good as Cantor right now. But if he develops, he
Hmm.
could have probably as good shooting as Yusuf Nurkic. And I've
Yeah.
seen like on some forums and stuff, I've seen some people saying DeMarcus Cousins. I don't want to like I'm not gonna go that far like at all, but
Yeah,
I will say that um Cousins didn't shoot the three well or the free throw well in his first couple of years in the league. They're the exact same height as he's the exact same size and height as Cousins is right now at 6'10", 270.
yeah,
And Cousins obviously is a much better passer. I think he averaged 6 assists 1 year when he was on the Pelicans. So
Yeah.
that is obviously not even close. But I mean, best case scenario.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't. You never know.
And yeah, and taking someone maybe even in the second round that has this much potential and this
Yep.
much like just ability to score in such a different position where it's just usually energy bigs, like he's going to be a steal come the second round for whoever gets in.
Yeah, like the three guys that we've talked about so far don't like they have less fewer questions than a lot of the
Mhm.
guys near the top of the draft. It's just like we know their weaknesses and they're probably not ever going to be able to overcome them
Yeah.
uh that well, but their strength are something you can bank on right away as soon as they
Hmm.
come in.
Yeah.
Okay, number 27, we have Isaiah Stewart, the center out of Washington. So he is a 6'9" center, but he's 250 with a 7'4" wingspan,
Hmm.
and he's mobile. He's good in the post, not as good as Vernon Carey, but he's good, and he's really high energy. He offensive boards, uh, rolls hard to the rim. He shoots a good free throw, actually 77%. He's shown a little bit of shooting touch, kind of similar to Vernon Carey. The only thing with him is he's not the most explosive athlete in the world,
Yeah.
and because of that, he doesn't have the lateral quickness really to guard guys on the perimeter.
Yeah. And with his explosiveness, like I think that's gonna hurt him when he's catching lobs and stuff. Because as an
Mm-hmm.
energy big, like usually like one of your main sources of points is catching lobs. And I just don't know if he's gonna be able to like elevate in traffic to put it over people. And then guarding the perimeter is something centers kind of have to be able to do a little bit.
Yeah,
It's the reason why some of these guys can never start like Vernon Carey. And I think if he can't guard the perimeter, which I think he has better potential to do if he drops down a couple pounds, I think he can maybe guard the perimeter. But like I just see him as another backup big as well. My
yeah,
comp for him was Rob Williams, just
yep.
someone that
I
comes in, plays
have the same
defense.
comp.
Yeah, just someone that does the role and just can never be a starter, but is
Mm-hmm.
not a bad bench player.
So the size and the length and the energy makes you think of Robert Williams. I think Robert Williams is a little more explosive and can elevate a little better than him. Uh, and like you're gonna hate this, but I'm gonna bring up another Raptors comp, and they're not even close to the same player, but I can see him playing a similar role to Chris Boucher. Um,
Oh my God, not at
like
all.
no. The energy. Listen, so energy, right?
Mhm.
Rolling to the rim hard, a little bit of shooting touch, not a ton,
Yeah,
and he's not a good rim protector, being like the anchor of the defense, but he's a good help rotate energy, kind of like not just relying on your length and your body protecting the rim. And I'm not saying they're similar players, but I can see him playing a similar role to a team that Chris Boucher plays
yeah,
for the Raptors.
yeah. The difference is Chris Boucher can guard the perimeter, and that's such a huge difference. Where it's like Chris Boucher is gonna have a long NBA career. We don't know about Isaiah Stewart because that switchability that he lacks, which Chris Boucher has, is the difference between a 6, 7, 8 year career in the NBA versus just a 4 year career in the NBA. So yeah, like if he drops weight and can actually switch onto smaller guys, then yeah, he could be a Chris Boucher type player for
You like
sure.
that comp?
Yeah, if there's a big if though, he has to
Yeah,
quicker. That's a big if.
yeah. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
done with the Raptors comps. I think I actually have one more later on, but for now
yeah,
I'm done. Okay, so number 26, we got Robert Woodard II, the wing at Mississippi State.
yeah. This is one of my favorite players because he shot 43% from three.
Yeah.
Do I really need to say anything else? That's like in the
Mm-hmm.
current NBA, if you can shoot 43% on three and you're 6'7", 230, so he could guard 1 to 4, and he has a 7'1" wingspan. Like, I'm surprised. The only reason this guy is not in like the lottery is because he cannot create a shot for
Mm-hmm.
himself at
Not at
all.
all.
Like he could just shoot threes, play defense with a good wingspan, good height,
Mm-hmm.
but like he's perfect. He could start, in my opinion, on like championship level teams if
Yeah.
he is able to translate well. And I think he'll be a steal in the late 20s. And I think he definitely will be a great bench player because he could just come in and do his role with stars. I think he could do. I think he'd do great on any single team.
I agree. So like you said, 6'7", 230 with a 7'1" wingspan.
Yeah,
It's not just that he can guard a 1 to 4. He literally has shown that he can guard 1 to 4. That's not a projection.
Yeah,
43% from the 3 point line, like you said. I mean, what else do you have to say? Uh, and he's only 6'7", but the shooting and the length and stuff, you could probably use him as like a roller, like a on ball screens and stuff, if you wanted to, just to maybe create some opportunities for him, because he doesn't have a handle at all. The thing is, it's kind of weird because he shot such a good percentage from three, but he only shot 62% from the line, which is kind of strange. And so he shot well. It wasn't on a huge volume, and his form looks a little uh, unorthodox. But I mean, 43% from three is better than almost any other player in this draft.
yeah. And it's pretty easy for comparisons for him. Basically, any 3 and D player. I put
Yeah.
Trevor Ariza just because
Mm.
I like the switchability at the 3 and 4, which I think
Mm-hmm.
Woodward can also have. And man, he's just an NBA player. Like we're gonna talk about him
I agree. Just
like being in
automatic
the
three
league
and D.
for
Sorry.
5, 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in the league for 5, 6 years minimum.
he's an automatic 3 and D wing if the shooting stays anywhere near where it is right now. I said Hawks to Mari Carroll. I think that's a okay
Yeah, that's
comp.
pretty good too. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to number 25, we have our first point guard. Sorry, no, we already talked about 2 point guards. Nico
yeah,
Mannion, the point guard out of Arizona. Oh, sorry, yeah. Uh, so he has a lot of really high level skills. He has the potential to be a 3 level scorer. He shoots off the dribble. He uses floaters. He has good, decent handle, good footwork. Can shoot off the catch. Really talented passer. Kind of sneaky hops too. The only thing that's going to hold him back in the NBA is his body. He's not the most explosive guy. He's kind of got short arms. I think his wingspan is shorter than his height, which is kind of
yeah,
weird. Um, Very limited defensively for that reason, and also for that reason struggles finishing at the rim, and he shies away from contact. Uses too many floaters probably, even though he's good at it. Not an explosive first step, so the handle, even though it's decent, needs to get better if he wants to create his own shot and make his teammates better. And even though he shoots a lot of threes and his talent is there, he only shot 33% in college
mhm,
from three. Uh, yeah,
yeah,
so obviously that's going to need to improve.
yeah. Some team is gonna select him and just hope he becomes a dead eye. Because if he's not a dead eye 3 point shooter in this
Yeah.
league, he doesn't have a spot in this league. So yeah, he just has to work on shooting threes. Maybe gaining a little bit of more like muscle because he's only 190 right now at 6'3". He can maybe fill that out a little more. But yeah, he just has to become a better 3 point shooter, and then he could just be like a bench 3 point shooter that comes in and hits threes and just kind of changes the dynamic of the game.
Yeah, the thing is, like, he has some of the best guard skills, really, like in
Yeah,
this draft. The passing and the creativity and the shiftiness and everything. It's just his body, like
yeah,
not quite as bad as Cassius Winston in terms
hmm
of the lack of explosiveness and size and everything because he's a little taller as well. But yeah, the first step is not there. So if he needs to extend his range, he needs to be respected from the 3 point line if he
yeah,
wants to uh, make his team better, make himself better. Like you said, I agree that he's probably going to be limited to a bench role. But if the shooting develops, he's a good enough playmaker and has enough ball skills to be a really good bench player, possibly even maybe like a low end starter.
hmm yeah. So my comp for him was Edwards from the Celtics because
Mm,
I know he's just a rookie right now, but the Celtics have him on on their team because they hope he could become
yeah,
a sniper from three. And I
yeah.
think whatever team picks up Nico, they're gonna expect him to become a deadeye from three too. So they're
hmm
gonna have a very similar beginning of their career.
That's fair. This is not a perfect comp that I have, but I was saying like a slower Goran Dragic with worse finishing. He's not Goran Dragic is one of the best finishers as a point guard in the entire
Yeah,
league.
that's a
But this
horrible comp.
no, okay, the size, they're the same
Yeah,
size. The shooting potential, obviously, because he has shown the talent, um, the playmaking. They're both really
yeah,
good playmakers, and the energy. Dragic is one of the most high energy point guards in the league, especially when he was younger. And Nico Mannion plays with that same level of intensity, running the floor end to end, all that stuff. Tries on defense, even though he's not that good.
yeah.
I don't
The
know.
only reason I don't like it that much is because the second you say Goran Dragic, you think of that left hand finishing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if
Yeah,
you just took Dragic and just took away
his
that
best
finishing,
ability. Yeah,
exactly, right? So it's kind of a perfect comp, actually.
Yeah, if you take away
Um,
Dragic's best ability,
yeah,
then it's a good comp. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, moving on to number 20,
4.
24. We have Theo Maledon, the
Hmm.
guard out of France.
Yeah. So the best thing about Theo is his size. He's 6'5", so like he's a
Hmm.
big point guard. And then he shot what 36% on threes, 79% on free throws. So he's a good shooter with size. And that means he can slide into that shooting guard position if there's a small point guard playing with him, but he could also do that point guard position well too. The cons for him is he only played 17 minutes per game. So we don't even like have a lot to judge him off of. So like we don't know what he could be like everything like those 3-point percentages that I just listed and that free throw percentage I listed
Yeah.
can be a complete myth and he could be a horrible shooter.
Hmm.
And yeah, like he could not be an NBA player. And another thing that in his limited minutes that kind of got exposed was his lack of strength and explosiveness. Like he wasn't able to switch
Yeah.
onto small forwards, even though he was
174
6'5".
pounds at 6'5".
Yeah, he was getting dominated on switches with small forwards. So it's gonna be tough for him. He's just a young guy that they're gonna. It's a project player. Like,
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
expect him to see him in the first year as
Yeah.
a rookie.
Yeah. So, like you said, 6'5". There are a lot of big point guards in this draft, and he's one of them. 6'5"
Hmm.
with length.
Yeah.
Like you said, we have seen him comfortable shooting off the dribble and off the catch. Granted, it's on low minutes and low volume.
Hmm.
Um, and he has shown a high offensive IQ, scoring and passing, really good footwork, body control, all that stuff. Really creative finisher. He has a lot of defensive promise because he's so long. And even though he didn't play that much, he still has experience similar to a lot of European players playing with older guys, which has kind of become a good thing in the draft. Whereas people shied away from European players before, that's kind of becoming a good thing. Uh, and like you said, he's limited explosiveness, kind of struggles to create space. And even though he has potential defensively, he has not really shown the fundamentals and IQ. Like you said, he's a project. And I think taking him in the early 20s in a draft like this, I think that's a really solid pick.
Yeah, but he also has the lowest floor out of I think any player we talked of right
Mm,
now, because he could struggle in the G League. Like that's how little we know about him. Like I think
that's
all
fair.
the players we named before, they'll at least be like G League starters.
That's fair.
So it's gonna be tough for him. My comparison to him is Patrick McCaw, because they're both around
That's
like
good. I
that's
kind of like that. I think
yeah,
McCaw's a little faster, a little quicker, more explosive, but like actually
yeah,
that's kind of decent.
yeah. They got the size and they can do a little bit of everything, but they're not really great at one thing. So that's why I thought that was a good comparison.
I I think like McCaw, like obviously, like we already said, we're Raptor fans, and we've
Yeah,
we've seen how bad of a scorer Patrick McCaw is. Like I don't even know
yeah,
if he's a good playmaker because he just never does anything with the ball. He never
yeah.
tries to score. I think Theo is a little bit better at that than him. My comps were a less quick Frank Ntilikina, the
Oh, that
length,
makes sense. Yeah,
the length and the good playmaking and stuff like that, and
yeah.
kind of how skinny he is. Also, people are saying poor man's Shea Gilgis. I
Oof.
think that's basically Nikhil Alexander Walker is the natural poor man's Shea,
Yeah,
and I think the mid range ability, the craftiness, the lack of muscle and size, the I already said length, and the speed and stuff like that. I think that's kind of a decent comp. Can
yeah.
play off the ball or on the ball.
The thing with Theo is we just don't know where he could be. Like he can be as good as Shea, which is like a pretty good selection for
Yeah,
late 20s. But then he can be not even a G League player.
yeah.
So
Nikhil.
he's yeah, he's gonna be tough.
Yeah. Okay. Next we have Jaden McDaniels, the forward out of Washington. Jaden McDaniels, 6'10", with good length. He's got hops and he's fast too, and quick. He can guard wings at 6'10", which is really nice. He has shown the ability to make spot up jumpers, decent handle for his size, and has shown some floaters and mid range pull ups and scoring and stuff like that. But he needs to put on weight to hang with bigs and finish through contact, but he hasn't really been able to yet. Now, like we think of he's obviously a power forward at 6'10". Uh,
Mhm.
you think of skinny power forwards. Like I would say Pascal Siakam's a really skinny power forward, and but he's 230, and Jaden
Yeah,
McDaniels is only 200, so
yeah,
he's even skinnier than some of the skinniest power forwards in the NBA. And for that's one of the reasons he's a weak post scorer. He's also a weak playmaker and gets a lot of into foul trouble a lot and kind of sloppy with turnovers.
yeah. This is another project player. He's not an NBA player right now. I don't even think we're gonna see him this whole next season. Maybe
Really?
like 5, 6 minutes here, there, and like, but like he's not gonna be in any rotation. He's just gonna be there because he's an athlete. He's one of the best athletes in this draft at 6'10",
Yeah.
with his running abilities, his leaping abilities. Like he's just an athlete, and they're gonna try to make him into a basketball player. And he's a good enough athlete where it's worth
He's got a good
selecting
handle
him.
though. Like he's
Yeah, like he obviously likes basketball, so like he has some fundamentals in him. Like he has a decent shot for a 6'10" guy,
hmm
has decent handles for a 6'10" guy, but he's just not an NBA player yet. He's an
yeah,
athlete right now, and they're gonna whatever team picks him, they can expect him to be better next year or the year after.
yeah. I agree. So my comp, I thought of Marvin Williams when I heard about that, the 6'10" with the handle and
Hmm.
the shooting touch potentially, and the defensive potential and the length. It just kind of reminds me of Marvin Williams.
Yeah, I thought of Jared Dudley, just
Hmm.
someone who could do a little bit of everything, but
Okay.
not be really great at anything. And he's obviously like a million times better athletic than that Jared Dudley,
Yeah,
but that was kind of the closest I got to him.
yeah. Well, Marvin Williams was really athletic when he was younger, and that and the length and the handle and stuff like that kind of reminded me of Marvin
Yeah.
Williams. Okay, so moving on, number 22, we have Leandro Bolmaro, the guard out of Argentina.
Hmm. So he's 6'7", only 182 pounds though, and he has good size for his like handles and his position because he's probably going to be a shooting guard, and he has a good ball handle for a shooting guard, like good enough to be a point guard.
Yeah.
But the cons against him is he doesn't have that much playing time, and his weight is just too skinny for a 6'7" guy
hmm
in the NBA. Like he cannot play at 182. And I hope that he took this quarantine and extended draft time to add on 25, 30 pounds, even fat. Like he just needs to be heavier because if he plays at 182 at 6'7", he's gonna get injured like right away.
So yeah, like you said, 6'7", and you would naturally think shooting guard, but he actually is a good, really good ball handler and a good
Hmm.
passer, a really good finisher, floaters. And another thing with him is he actually is a really high effort defender and kind of has sneaky lateral quickness too. He's not one of these European guards who comes in and isn't is kind of just a negative on the defensive end. He's actually a pretty decent on ball defender and a good team defender too. Uh, but he's not the most explosive guy in the world. Struggles to create space, kind of one on one. He plays more of like a within the flow of the offense, attacking the rotating defense, stuff like that. Doesn't really create one on one. And then you didn't. Another thing you didn't mention is 30% on threes and 68%
Yeah.
from the line. So a player like this, who's not extremely explosive, but kind of has everything else you want from a guard, including size, although he needs
Hmm.
to add weight. Uh, if you can't stretch the floor, name of the podcast.
Yeah.
If you can't make threes, and if you haven't shown the ability to have shooting touch with only 68% from the line, I mean, like, is he going to be an NBA player if he can't shoot?
Yeah. He's not like these last couple NBA players that we named are not to play this season, the upcoming.
Yeah,
Like if your team selects any of these guys, don't expect to see them because at 182, the only reason he's getting selected is because of his ball handle. Like he has such a good handle for a six foot
yeah,
seven guy.
yeah,
But at 182, you can't guard anyone on the court. Like even Kemba Walker is going to be able to get by him and body him. And when like the lightest guy in the league, Kemba Walker, is able to do that to you, like you're not an NBA player. But if he adds 40, 45 pounds of muscle, then he could be amazing. It's just
yeah,
can he do it?
yeah. I agree. So my comp for him, it's not perfect, but I thought of Thomas Satoransky, just the size and the handling and the
Mm.
playmaking. I think Satoransky's a better shooter, but I think it's a pretty decent comp.
Yeah, for my comparison to him, it wasn't the greatest comparison. I had a really hard time. But imagine if Hedo Turkoglu lost all his strength, then that is. who this guy is because he could do everything. He could shoot, he could ball handle at his height and everything. But Hedo Turkoglu obviously had the strength to go into the paint, which what this guy lacks. But if he adds that strength, he could maybe hit that Hedo Turkoglu level and be a solid NBA player.
Okay, I like it. Okay, number 21, we have Josh Green, the wing out of Arizona. So this guy's a 6'6", 210 wing with really good, he has explosiveness, length, finishes strong at the rim, moves his feet really well on defense, can guard small guys, wing guys, and isn't the greatest, most dynamic shooter in the world, but he has shown that he can make the most basic catch and shoot threes. Um, his handle's weak, which is obviously something that you want out of a wing, and his even though he's strong and explosive at the rim, he relies on that strength and explosiveness a little bit and doesn't really have like a huge layup package, crafty finishes, finishing, like other than just kind of exploding above the rim.
Yeah, yeah. This guy's just 3 and D. Like
Yeah.
that's what his career is gonna be. It's a good career. He could have 5, 6 years, maybe even more in the NBA. But people are not going to shy away. People are going to shy away from him. That's going to fall him out of like the lottery and everything because he has no star potential. Like he's never going to be a star,
Yeah.
and it's just going to be tough for him to do anything besides be a role player. But that's still at like around the 20th selection. If you get someone that could be a role player on a team for a long time, that's a worthwhile pick.
Yeah, and I think the obvious comp here is at 6'6" with shooting ability, even the name Danny Green. I think it has to be the comp here.
Oh, we have kind of similars. When you said the name, I thought we were gonna get the same one. I had Josh Hart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that one too. I like that too.
yeah,
Josh
just
Green, Josh
yeah,
Hart, Danny Green. Okay.
yeah. Those are perfect comps for him. He's
Yeah.
just 3 and D, gonna do
Yeah.
his job, gonna be a good player, gonna be in the league for a while.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. It's pretty simple. Number 20, we have Kira Lewis Jr., who is another guard out of Alabama.
Yeah, he's 6'5",
Another big guard.
165, 165.
Ah,
So obviously, because he's 165, he's so quick, and he is improving his shooting from year to year. It's obviously not the greatest right now, but he's better shooting, and he has a lot of skills for a rookie. Like I feel like he could do a lot on the offensive end, but his weight just lets him down.
yeah.
Like it doesn't matter about his skills because you're not playing in the NBA at 165. You're just not going to be strong enough to do anything. So like it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah. So like you said, I mean, he's 165. He's so quick and he's explosive, and he has a lot of skill. Like you said, he's good at finishing, good footwork. He's got a floater game. He shot 36% from three, almost 80% from the line. Uh, Obviously at that size, he's going to move well on the perimeter. So he's an agile defender. But obviously, you're not even going to be able to guard the smallest point guard in the league at 165. You're going to get bodied by like Isaiah Thomas at
Yeah.
165. Uh, Obviously hurts his defense and his finishing ability. He has good but not great playmaking skills, has some tunnel vision, not the greatest handle in the world, kind of just attacks the rim like in a straight line, and like similar to like even a guy like RJ Barrett where he just like attacks the rim and doesn't kind of look up and tries to and make some questionable decisions. Uh he kind of has a little bit of that in him, but I mean the weight is the main thing that holds him back. If he can add, he needs to add a lot of weight. If he needs to add like 35
Yeah.
pounds,
Minimum
but if he
35
does, I mean,
pounds.
yeah. But if he does, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, he's another player that we talked about. Other than Josh Green, basically everyone in like 25 up has been project players.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of those players that has star potential. Like he can be a star in this league if he
Yep.
adds weight and keeps this quickness.
Yep.
And that's where my comp is going to come into. And it's John Wall. Like if he adds the
Mm.
weight and is able to keep this quickness, I can see him becoming a John Wall-esque player where he's just using his quickness to dominate the league, just on fast breaks, getting to the rim, half court setups, just walking back and just going full speed. Like it's going to be
Yep.
tough for the league.
Yeah, the size and obviously like John Wall is much, much, much bigger than him, like
Yeah,
weight wise. But if he can add the weight, which is a huge task, but add the weight and stay fast, I mean, like, yeah, I like it. He kind of reminds me of another point guard from Alabama, Colin Sexton, just the length and the quickness, and I
Yeah,
think Colin Sexton is a and like the kind of the questionable shot selection. Colin Sexton is a better 3-point shooter. Colin Sexton is a little bit better. I wouldn't say he's a better playmaker. I don't know. I see that comp a little bit.
yeah, I see Colin Sexton a lot. The thing with Colin Sexton is he's so much more aggressive when it
Yeah,
gets to
that's the thing.
scoring the ball. So I think the mentality has a little different too. But man,
But
like
maybe so.
2, 3 years, we don't know what's
Yeah,
gonna happen.
yeah. Maybe just because Colin Sexton's a lot heavier and able to finish better in traffic, maybe that just leads to more aggressiveness, and we could see that out of Kira Lewis if he puts on some weight.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, coming up at 19, we have Jalen Smith, the forward out of Maryland. Oh, sorry, it's my turn. I forgot.
Yeah,
Uh, so he's a 6'10", 225 forward with a 7'2" wingspan. We saw him play both front court spots in college, and he kind of has the ideal skill set for a modern big. Shot 37% from three and 75% from the line. Has the ability to blow by more slow-footed bigs and the ability to beat smaller bigs in the post. Uh, I think you could run him on pick and rolls, pick and pops, and he actually tries really hard on defense too. Even though he's slow-footed and gets beat off the dribble a lot, especially on the perimeter, uh, I don't really see any defense for him at all. Even though he tries, like I said, he gets beat off the dribble, and he's probably too small to guard centers, but too slow to guard the quicker fours, and he's also not a great passer.
yeah. So I'm gonna just see my comp straight away because I see a lot of Brandon Clark in Jalen Smith, as in
Really?
he needs to be a power forward for 1 or 2 years while he bulks up so he could play that center's position. And that's what they're doing with Clark right now in Memphis. They have Jonas Valanciunas, but they know that Clark has to play the center spot because they already have Jaren Jackson Jr. at the four spot. So they're letting Clark bulk up. They're letting Clark use his speed and just get some experience right now, but they're not using him too much. And that's what they have to use with Jalen Smith. He is not a power forward. He's too slow to guard power forwards.
Yeah.
So he needs a team that's going to be able to just be like, hey, get some experience, get out there, be a complete negative on the court, just get experience and just bulk up throughout this year. Just keep
Yeah.
eating, keep working out. Like, and if he bulks up, like him and Brandon Clark could be great centers in this league. It's just a big if.
I like that comp, not so much in like the type of player that he is, but in his role
Hmm.
and what his NBA career will look like at the beginning. Because I think
Yeah,
Brandon Clark is a better defender than he'll ever be, no matter what.
yeah,
Uh, I think a little bit of like a faster Kelly Olynyk, just the skill set, the three potential, the defensive deficiencies, the size, all that stuff. And this isn't great, but I mean, I think a little offensively, I think of like Eric Pascal even a little bit, just the ability to score in different ways. You can run him on pick and rolls, pick and pops. Uh, Plays pretty well on ball for his size. Uh, Obviously, I think Eric Pascal is a little faster than him, probably, but I think it's. I think I see a
yeah.
little bit of it.
Yeah, I see a nice mix of Eric Pascal and Kelly. Like that
Yeah,
makes sense because he's not the sniper that Kelly Olynyk is,
yeah,
but he's not as fast as Eric Pascal. So kind
yeah,
of mixing both of them is what you get. And yeah, he just needs another year to bulk up because he's not a power forward and he's not going to be able to play in the league as a power forward. So he
yeah,
just needs to switch to that center spot. And it might happen in 2 to 3 years where he could be a decent. He can even start at center depending on the team and the circumstance.
yeah. Depending on the team. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. We are at number 18 now, and this player is one of the most interesting players in the entire draft. Alexei Pokasevsky, the big out of Serbia.
7 foot tall. And I feel like we talk a lot about weight in this draft class,
Mm-hmm.
but this is probably the most prominent one
Definitely.
because it's someone under 200 pounds at 7 foot tall. He's
Yeah.
195. And pros, obviously his size, and he has a decent amount of skill for a 7 footer, but he's not going to be able to play. Like, we're not going to see him for 2 years, 3 years. Like, he's like a Bruno Caboclo type player where, like, he's 2 years away from being two
Serbian
years
Kevin
away.
Durant, you're saying?
Yeah, Serbian Kevin Durant, or you could just call him the Serbian Bruno. He's 2 years away from being 2 years away. And if he adds the weight, then he could be a good player. He could be, I said, Porzingis. Like he has that
Yeah.
much ability and skill where if it works out, he's amazing. And if it doesn't work out, he's Bruno. So it's the biggest risk in this draft, but it might be the highest reward in this 18 and below. Out of all these players, he might have the highest ceiling,
Yeah.
but he has the highest floor too, lowest floor.
Yeah. So like you said, 7 foot with a 7'3" wingspan, uh,
Hmm.
moves and handles like a guard,
Amazing,
moves and handles like a guard. He shoots off the dribble. He runs the fast break. He can run the
amazing.
pick and roll.
Yeah,
Passes. You obviously when you're that tall and that long, you're gonna block shots. But he's under 200 pounds, and I think, and he obviously gets pushed around in the post. Gives up blow
yeah,
bys. He's so long and lanky. He's gonna give up blow by after blow by on the perimeter. His shot isn't the most it wasn't the most consistent jump shot in the world, but I mean, that's not what you worry about with him. You worry about the weight, obviously. I think the comp you said Porzingis. I think the comp kind of has to be Bol, but
yeah,
even Bol is 220 pounds. Like
yeah. That's why. Yeah,
we were scared of Bol. Bol fell mostly because of injuries, but also because of that weight, and he's more than 20 pounds on this guy.
yeah. The reason I say he's better than Bobo is because he has more skill than Bobo, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Like, but both those guys, if they add weight, if Bobo becomes a 250-pound center, like they're gonna dominate the league.
Yeah,
It's just can they do it? Can Bobo and can this guy become 250?
yeah,
And I hope they can because it'll be great for them.
yeah.
But some team's gonna take the risk on them, and we're just gonna have to see 2 to 3 years from now.
Yeah, and like you said, he is the biggest there have been a lot of projects in this draft that we talked about already,
Hmm.
but he's by far the biggest one.
Yeah,
Lowest
by far.
floor, maybe highest ceiling in the entire draft. Like it's possible.
It's
Like
possible. Yeah,
we don't know. There's really no ceiling on this guy. Okay, so moving on to number 17, we have Sadiq Bey, the forward out of Villanova. So he's a 6'7", 216 forward or wing with a 6'11" wingspan, and he hustles really hard on the offensive glass. He defends switches on the perimeter, really high effort team defender, rotates well, all that stuff. He shot 45% from three on
yeah,
almost 7 attempts a game, off the
crazy.
dribble, off movement, all that stuff. Uh, got a little bit of guard skills like passing and stuff like that. Not the greatest handle in the world. The only thing with him is he is not extremely explosive. He's not going to be blowing by a lot of guys. Not going to be creating his own shot a lot. But 45% on 7 attempts, you cannot argue with that size, with that ability to defend. I mean, like the only thing is his shot form is a little unconventional. Shot 73% from the line, but that's not horrible. That can obviously improve.
Yeah, yeah. So this guy, the only cons with him is that you just can't see him becoming a star. Like he's gonna be a good NBA player. Like that's kind of a given.
Yeah,
And it's just, do you want to take a risk on these guys above him that might become a star, or do you just settle with someone that's gonna fit your players and
yeah,
fit who you already have? And it's gonna be tough. My comp for him was Cam Johnson, and
yeah. I thought of him too.
I
Yeah,
think they're just both like perfect players to have as your fifth starter on a
yeah,
championship team, where they just come in, do the role, play defense,
yeah,
do their job, and that's it.
yeah. So you said fifth starter championship team. Not quite a championship team, but Jay Crowder, fifth starter on the Miami Heat.
Yeah,
I see that in him. I also see some Royce O'Neal in him. I
yeah,
think I think they're pretty similar players too.
hmm yeah.
Okay, so
Just
now oh sorry.
anyone that's a small forward slash power forward that could defend and shoot threes
And
is
not
kind of
really
what's
create his own shot.
yeah,
That's but I mean this guy really shoots threes, so that's
yeah,
obviously. Okay, so moving on to number 16, we have Cole Anthony, the point guard out of North Carolina.
yeah. This guy is he has a lot of fans. So if you're picking him, you're gonna get a positive reaction from your fan base. What people love from him is his effort. Because Cole Anthony just always seems like he's trying his 195% on the court, and he seems like he always has a great work ethic. And I think that's because he could score. I think he's a three-level scorer. Some people say he's not because he's only 190, but we've seen flashes of him scoring at all three stages. It's just, can he facilitate? Because as a point guard,
Hmm.
as a 6'3" point guard, you're gonna have to
Yeah,
be able to facilitate. And at the end of the day, he's still 6'3", 190. So his size and height and weight is just gonna be tough for him
yeah.
to become a star. But he's gonna be a good player, I think, as a rookie right away.
I agree. So he's a good athlete.
Mhm.
He has a good handle, good footwork, creates space, creates his own shot really well, finishes well at the rim through contact. He takes jumpers off the dribble in the mid range, beyond the arc, catch and shoot. One of the most like versatile shooters in the draft, especially for the guys who handle the ball a lot. And he is quick, even though he's not he could be heavier. He's quick and strong enough to stay in front of guards and be a high energy team defender. But like you said, can he run an offense? He's not the greatest playmaker in the world. He's not a ball stopper. He moves the ball when he needs to and makes some passes, but he's not a natural playmaker who you would think of as running an elite offense.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw a lot of really poor shot selection. He hardly played any games between injuries and like the season getting shut down. But from what
Mhm.
we saw, the shot selection was not ideal. Forced a lot of things. But if he can clean that cleaning up the shot selection, he could look like one of the best scorers in the draft. And I agree with you that he could be a three-level scorer, but
Yeah.
his playmaking will be the thing that determines whether he comes off the bench or plays as a lead ball handler on a team.
Yeah. So my comp for him was Kendrick Nunn. I think
Mm,
someone that comes off the bench sometimes, starts sometimes, could get you points but doesn't get you a lot of assists.
I like it.
Like, that's the perfect comparison for him.
I This is probably the absolute ceiling on him, but I thought of Jamal Murray, just the size and the athleticism and the handle and the shot creation ability. Jamal Murray became a way better playmaker this year, but before
And
that was not
defender.
something you said about him.
Yeah.
What's that?
Jamal Murray really improved on the defensive
Yeah,
end.
and yeah, that's true. I think similar bodies, similar player profile as what they could be to a team. Probably not
Yeah.
the guy who you want being the absolute lead playmaker on a team, but can be the lead scorer and lead perimeter player. Maybe.
Yeah. If Cole Anthony becomes Jamal Murray, then I think he's happy with his career.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, he was a lot higher, projected a lot higher in the draft until the season started. He was in the
Mhm.
top 5 of some people's mock drafts and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and with such a limited sample size, we don't really know.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and coming in at number 15, we have Tyrese Maxey, another guard out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
He's 6'3". He's 197, a lot heavier. That's
A lot
nice for
heavier.
Cole
Yeah.
Anthony with a 6'8" wingspan, which is really nice out of a point guard. Really talented scorer. He he has really good floater game, footwork, has shooting range, finishes through contact with that length, tries really hard and is strong and aggressive on the defensive end. The only thing is uh, he's another guard who doesn't have a ton of explosiveness and a quick first step, which leads to him not being able to create his own shot consistently. And kind of similar to Cole Anthony, the shot selection and the playmaking need improvement. He's probably more suited off the ball, but he's only 6'3".
Hmm.
Uh, so that could hurt his NBA, whether he comes off the bench or is able to start for a team.
Yeah. And the worst thing about him is his low shot release. Because if he's getting blocked on all his attempts, then he's never going to get the confidence to be the good scorer that he has potential to be.
Yeah.
So I just want to see how he adjusts that shot release to the NBA. Because we've seen players like Lonzo Ball struggle. And until this season, Lonzo Ball was constantly updating his shot form.
Yep.
And it finally worked out this season. But with someone with the 15th pick, can I get 2 years to change a shot? Because Lonzo Ball was such a high lottery pick that he was given the time to change the shot and keep playing, 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 playing. I just wonder if someone outside the lottery at 15-ish is going to get that time to change the shot as much. And I think that's what gives him the two different types of comparisons. If he gets his shot to go, he could be like a Colin Sexton, someone who could give you 20 points. But if he can't get his shot to go, then he could be like a Malik Monk, someone who has flashes of great scoring, but could
Yeah.
never do it consistently.
Yeah. So I have Colin Sexton too. I
Mhm.
agree. Similar body, similar length, similar. Colin Sexton's probably a little bit faster and explosive than him, but
Yeah.
yeah, a guy who can give you 20 points, but is 6'3", but probably better suited as a an off guard. And I think the absolute ceiling for him would be like a Shea type player, Shea Gilgeous, to bring him up
Ooh,
again.
I
Uh,
don't think so.
you don't think so? I see like the skill in the mid range with the footwork and the floaters and the changes of speeds and the ability to shoot with not being a great playmaker. Shea's a better playmaker.
She's much better.
Not being a great playmaker, but is better suited off the ball and has a lot of defensive potential at his size and length. I see it
Yeah,
a little bit.
I just think 6'3" guys that can't that can't play make are just suited to six-man roles.
Yeah,
So I think his
Malik
absolute
Monk's a good one.
ceiling,
Yeah,
yeah, I think his absolute ceiling is Lou, just be
mm,
six man
yeah,
over and over again.
yeah,
Because I just can't see someone starting that's 6'3" that's not a great playmaker.
yeah. No, that's fair. I hear that. Okay, so coming in number 14, we got another guard, R.J. Hampton from the New Zealand Breakers.
Okay, yeah, RJ Hampton, I might be a little biased towards because I just think he's amazing.
Really?
He's explosive, and his Euro step is by far the best in this league. Like he has a Euro step that's, in my opinion, already one of the best in the NBA. Like he's gonna have a top 20 Euro step in the NBA, and his size at 6'5", he's gonna be able.
Another big
I think
guard.
I think he's gonna switch to shooting guard in his
Yeah,
career.
yeah, I agree.
So I think when you have a good enough shot that he could shoot I think he could shoot a decent amount of threes. And then he has a Euro step that lets him score on the inside. And then he's explosive enough to be good at cutting and moving off ball. I think he could be a great NBA player. The cons for him is his defense. He just can't stay in front of anybody. But a lot of rookies usually struggle on the defensive end. And he's big enough where he can adjust for that. You know, he can't be a great one-on-one defender, but he could be a great team defender like JJ Redick. And then I just think he's going to be great in this league. And I think he honestly could get one or two All-Star breaks. And I think that's the first player that's out of everyone we named. I didn't think there was a single All-Star till RJ Hampton.
Really? So, I mean, we both agree that he's 14. I don't see his ceiling. I mean, I don't like putting a ceiling on players, but I don't want to
Hmm.
just say all-star right away. But he, like you said, he's one of the most quick and explosive scorers in the draft.
Yeah,
The thing with him is he's more of like a downhill scorer. He's not a guy with like a great handle who, in the half court slowly kind of beats you off the dribble, creates your own shot. He kind of just scores downhill and blows by you. Really good length and size at 6'5", like you said. Decent shooter, streaky.
hmm
Definitely room for improvement there. Not the greatest, most natural playmaker, but has a good playmaking ability, and has shown ability to make good reads and good passes. So, which is probably going to lead to him switching to the two guard later in his career and kind of being a combo slash secondary playmaker.
yeah.
Um, and even though he's only 188 pounds, he has good quickness and can probably guard like the smallest of guards. But other than that, I don't know how much else he's going to be able to do.
And yeah,
Um,
when I mentioned All-Star, I don't mean like he's gonna be a preliminary
yeah, no,
All-Star,
no,
say
yeah,
year in year
yeah,
out, just
yeah.
once or twice.
But yeah, I mean, if that shot continues to develop and he's able to have that as a go to way to score, combine that with his footwork, like you said, the Euro step, the explosiveness, the length. If he adds any weight at all,
Yeah,
he can definitely be one of the best scorers in this draft. I agree.
yeah. And my comparison for him is Terry Rozier because it's just someone who's not gonna play make a lot, but who just get you points consistently, who's gonna shoot a lot. Not the greatest shooter, but he's gonna shoot a
Yeah,
lot. And he's kind of a two guard, Terry Rozier, even though
yeah,
he's a point guard.
yeah.
And I think Terry Rozier could be an all-star too if he just has a very high usage, which I think RJ Hampton might get if he gets picked by a bad team.
I like that comp. Honestly, I didn't feel great about my comps for him. Because he's such a unique player at his where how skinny he is and the way he scores. Some people say Will Barton, which I kind of agree with.
Yeah.
Um, and you're gonna absolutely hate this comp, but I'm gonna bring up another Raptor player, and it's not a good comp at all. But I think the way he can score is kind of similar to Norman Powell. Just how
Oh no, yeah, that's good.
Norman Powell with the 3-point shot, he became a consistent 3-point shooter. If he can do that, he can score in that way. And Norman Powell is really explosive going towards the basket. Not as good footwork and shiftiness, not even close to RJ Hampton, but similar downhill scorer, not going to beat you off the dribble, attack the rotating defense, attack the rim, probably hopefully get to the line if he had some more muscle. I
Yeah,
I like the comp. I thought you were going to hate it. I'm kind of happy that you didn't, but
yeah,
that's just how I feel.
yeah. The only difference between them two is Norman Powell's a
Yeah,
strength scorer. Like
yeah,
he'll use his body to get in, whereas RJ Hampton's more of a skill scorer.
yeah.
That's why I'm so high on RJ Hampton because if he adds the strength that Norman Powell has, he can elevate himself so much higher. And I think he can do it. I'm gonna be surprised. I think he could be like an MPJ, someone who gets him late lottery, but he beats one of the best players in the
I
draft.
I thought of MPJ too, and not 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 MPJ like from the draft, but MPJ
Yeah,
like on the Nuggets. How
yeah, yeah,
he's attacking line drives and shooting a lot of threes and scoring in ways like that. I with the length, I agree with that too.
yeah.
Okay, so now coming in at number 13, we have Aaron Neesmith, the Vanderbilt wing. Now, he might be the best shooter in the entire draft. Aaron
He
Neesmith.
is. I think
He
he is.
probably is the best shooter in the entire draft. He's a 6'6 wing at 213 with a 7 foot wingspan. Not an elite athlete, but decent knockdown shooter. High degrees of difficulty shots, off the dribble, off the catch, off screens, off movement, whatever. No, doesn't take stupid shots, knows his role, plays the perfect 3 and D role that you want in the league. Um, Tries really hard on defense, has a high defensive IQ. The only thing with him, another one of these wings that doesn't have a great handle, doesn't create his own shot, isn't the quickest defender, even though he tries really hard. And he could add some more weight at 6'6", only being 213, so he's not extremely strong finishing at the rim. But I mean, the shooting is real with this guy, and the defense, if he adds weight, he can grow into a pretty decent defender, I think.
Yeah, and people got to realize he would be a top five prospect if it wasn't for his injury history. So the reason he's down low here is because of also the injury scares that he has. And he's gonna have a high ceiling and he's gonna have a high floor because of that.
Yeah,
Like he's a great shooter, so he's gonna be in the league, I think, for 6, 7 years plus, and he's just gonna be a good player, and he can even be a good starter sometimes, in my opinion.
I completely agree. So my I feel pretty good about these comps. Um, Bigger Buddy Healed, I think is a
Yeah,
decent comp,
I have the
and
exact same one.
more athletic Duncan Robinson.
Ooh, okay, I agree with
No,
Buddy Hield. The only reason I give Duncan Robinson such a unique player because he shoots before he gets the ball, and I don't know if Aaron Naismith
true,
has that ability,
true.
but Buddy Hield, I like that a lot because he could just shoot the ball
Mm-hmm.
no matter where he is, and he's always willing to try on the defensive end. We've seen Buddy Hield get exposed, but he's always working hard and trying.
Yeah, and being 6'6", Buddy Hield is smaller than that, obviously six
Mhm.
three ish. Being 6'6" is going to help him with the 7 foot wingspan. Buddy Hield does not have a 7 foot wingspan.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I had Buddy Hield, and I had Matt Thomas too.
another Raptor, right?
Yeah, just an absolute
Ah,
sniper.
that's actually that's so interesting. I actually like that because if Matt Thomas played like what, like a average of 5-6 minutes a game, like if
Yeah,
that, if he played 25 minutes a game and took 10 threes, he would probably average at least like 16 points in
yeah,
like a game. But
yeah,
Matt Thomas is a horrible defender, a
yeah,
terrible defender. Even though he tries really hard,
mhm,
Aaron Nesmith is not going to be that bad, and
yeah.
he tries hard in defense too. So I actually kind of like that too. Okay, so coming in at number 12, we have Precious Achua, the Memphis forward.
Okay, so he's really confusing because he has a poor free throw percentage, but he shot 32.5% on 43s.
Yeah,
So if he could shoot threes and if he has a shot with his physique of 6'9" and 225, he's gonna be a star in this league. But if he can't shoot threes, then he's just gonna be a small ball center that goes out there and tries to catch lobs and rolls, sets good picks. Like he needs to learn the game. Like there's so much. He's still a
yeah,
prospect
yeah,
at this young stage. Like he still needs to learn about defensive switching, defensive schemes. But he has everything to be an NBA like. And I'm not gonna say a star, but he could be an NBA like impact player where he could give you 20 points one night, and he could give you 10 rebounds another night, and he give you like 4 steals another night. It's just, can he put it all together, and can he have that 3-point shot that kind of is there right now?
Yeah. So the the amount of questions about him makes you question, why is he above Aaron Neesmith? Why is he above RJ Hampton? Why is he above
Mhm.
some of the other guys? But I mean, the
Yeah,
6'9", 225 with the wingspan and the explosiveness, attacking the rim, can switch, guard both front courts or both forward spots, can switch on the perimeter a little bit. He has a lot of potential as a pick and roll finisher, rolling to the rim, all that stuff, rebounding, transition, really good. Uh, the thing is, like you said, he is also a project too. Some of the more skill based stuff, like the handle and the free throws and the threes, he did shoot 32% on extremely low volume.
yeah,
And then also like the IQ, like you said, on the defensive end and the shot selection and the turnovers. But I mean, the if he develops that three, like you said, he has more star potential than a lot of the guys that came under him in this list. At
yeah,
6'9", 225 with a 7'2" wingspan, with that athleticism, the defensive potential is there, obviously, and the
yeah,
offensive potential depends completely on that three.
yeah. And my comp for him is not the greatest. It's kind of like, if he doesn't develop that 3-point shot, he's just going to be another Rob Williams, someone that's going to
Mm.
set you a hard pick, drive to the rim, catch a lob, play a couple minutes here and there. But if he does develop that shot, he could be as good as Jaren Jackson Jr., in my opinion. But that's a big if.
That is a big if. I kind of went a different way with my comps. I thought of Montrezl Harrell just with the downhill
Yeah,
explosiveness, the strength, and the just kind of playing off energy and the potential he has as a pick and roll player. I also thought of Brandon Clark with that length at 7'2". He can be a really effective rim protector.
yeah,
Um, Brandon Clark wasn't thought of as a 3-point shooter, but actually has shown that he's kind of decent as a 3-point shooter. And obviously, Brandon Clark has a much higher defensive and even offensive IQ than Precious Achiuwa, but the explosiveness is there and the athleticism and the length is there. I think he can be a player like those two guys.
yeah. Those are good. Those are good comparisons. It's just develop. It just depends where his skills develop, because he still has
Exactly.
so much to
Yeah.
develop. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so now coming in at number 11, we have Devin Vassell, the wing out of Florida State. So Devin Vassell was a lot higher on some other people's, especially a few months ago. He was a lot higher, but a video kind of surfaced a couple of
yeah,
weeks ago of his very questionable shooting form, which kind of dropped him a little bit. I mean, he's still number 11, but I think we had him in the top 10 before, or
yeah,
maybe even a couple spots higher. Anyway, so he's 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, which is obviously really nice. He's not extremely explosive as an athlete, but he's mobile and agile, really good length, like I said. Hustles on defense, really hustles on and off the ball. Really, really good defensive awareness, IQ, all that stuff. Quick enough to stay in front of guards. Only 180 pounds, needs to put on weight to be able to handle wings and maybe switch onto front court players. Has a okay handle, and if that can continue to improve, he's also shown flashes of shooting off the dribble, which all is awesome. But
yeah,
if he really has changed his shooting form to be whatever that was that we saw in that video, I honestly have no idea about him. But
yeah.
I'm just going based off what we saw before. He always had kind of weird shooting form, but it wasn't that weird.
Mhm.
Shot 72% from the line. I don't know, but if he can develop the three, put on a little bit of weight, he can be a prototypical 3-and-D player in the league and just a solid NBA player.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't even like him if my team took him, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any star potential with him. And if I'm taking
Yeah,
a
I agree.
player that's near the top 10, I want someone that could at least be a star. My comp for him is KCP. And if you're going to take someone that can only become KCP in the top 10 or close to the top 10, it's going to be a tough sell for your fan base.
What about Robert Covington? The
I
3-point
just,
shot, if he develops that with the length and the size, Robert Covington is around
six
the same
nine.
size,
No,
6'9".
Robert Covington
Yeah,
6'9".
with a
Yeah.
7-foot wingspan though, that's pretty good. Anyways,
Like,
yeah,
I just
I don't
don't
know.
want
It it
someone that's
it
six
all
five.
depends. There's two things. It all depends on the shooting if that develops. Which,
Mm-hmm.
if it does, he's a 3-and-D wing. pretty much right away. But he's only 180. Needs to add that weight. If he does, not an extremely exciting player. Uh, Probably less of a sure thing than a lot of the wings under him in this draft.
Yeah,
But the length with the body and the quickness, if he adds the weight, like I said, and continues to develop the shot, he can probably be one of the better, if not the best, 3D wing in this draft, possibly.
yeah.
Because he
Like
has a
he
better
could,
handle. He can be 3D plus. Like you hear that 3D plus
hmm
tag people say about players.
yeah,
Um, because he has the handle, has more ability to create his own shot than a couple of the other guys that we mentioned, like Aaron Nesmith and a couple other players.
yeah. But with a questionable three, it's gonna be tough sell for anyone that drafts him and his fan base. I would be surprised if he goes in the top 10 over any of the guys we have. And he's just someone that's gonna play. He's gonna have a long career if his three ball works. If it
Yeah,
doesn't work, he's not gonna be in the NBA. Simple as that.
I agree. Okay, so now we're into the top 10. Coming in
Yeah,
at number 10, a point guard, another big point guard, Tyrese Halliburton out of Iowa State.
yeah. I'm super high on this guy. He shot
Yeah, me too.
43%. He shot 43% from three. He's 6'5". He has one of the best basketball IQs in my opinion. I think he has the best basketball IQ in this draft. He's great at reading offenses. He's great at reading defenses. The only problem for him is his half court offense. He struggles when it's in the half court. He is stuck. He does not know what to do, and he usually defers. And if you're taking a top 10 pick, you want someone that someone has the confidence to at least go out and just try on the half court. But he has the ability to shoot threes. He has the size to be a good defender. He's not a great defender right now. So like he could be someone that's a great complement to a star. I just don't know if he can be a star due to his half court offense, like lack of.
Yeah, so I think there are a couple reasons that he has not been a good half court ball handler in college. He's 175 pounds at
Hmm
6'5". Needs to add a lot more weight, obviously, to be able to attack the rim and affect the defense that way. Not the most explosive guy in the world, for a guy who's probably looking to be a lead ball handler for a team, and also doesn't have the greatest handle. So I mean, if you're not able to attack the rim, if you don't have the greatest first step in the world, and you don't have the greatest handle in the world, you're probably not going to be creating much offense in the half court. Now that said, really good length, really good size, really good footwork and body control, keeps defenders off balance. Really, really good passing vision. Can run a pick and roll. Like even if he isn't able to break down defenders himself, he can run a pick and roll really well. Shot 43% on threes, almost 80% on free throws. Has a floater game, like I said, and isn't a great defender yet, but has a lot of defensive potential and versatility because of that size.
Yeah. And the person I compared him to was Alex Caruso.
Oh,
That's because he's just someone that could be kind of amazing in the fast break scenarios, but then kind of just be a nobody in half court scenarios. And he has a 3 point capacity where he could be just kind of a spacer, which Caruso is kind of struggling with.
mm-hmm.
But his defensive IQ and his basketball IQ should be up there with Caruso's, where he can get steals and he can impact the defensive end. And if he doesn't improve, like Caruso was a starter on a championship team, so that's still a big compliment.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think of, but if he could be Caruso, I think he'll be happy with his career.
I think he could be Alex Caruso plus, or like Caruso
Mm,
could be Tyrese Halliburton light. That's actually not bad. He's longer. He's probably faster than Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso is not slow, but he's probably faster. Uh, he's a better playmaker as well, like the vision and everything like that. I don't want to just say that he'll never be a good half court player, because I think if he can add weight, that's a way that he can uh, affect the defense more himself.
yeah,
The handle, it would be nice if it improves. I'm not going to just bank on it improving. I think a player that he could not right away, not even close right away, but eventually maybe Malcolm Brogdon, with the
hmm
ability to knock down the 3 point shot, the ability to play make, but not necessarily really good passer, really good playmaker, really good IQ. Like some of the passes he makes is ridiculous, kind of like Malcolm Brogdon. But neither guy is a guy that you necessarily want being your lead ball handler. Like you said, you want him playing off a star, playing off a better playmaker, better ball handler. But if he can get the defense there, if his shot can stay consistent, if he can run a pick and roll, make those good passes, add some weight, finish at the
A lot
rim
of
himself,
ifs. That's
I,
a lot of
a
ifs.
lot of ifs. But in a draft like this, if you have Malcolm Brogdon with 4 or 5 ifs, maybe you
Yeah,
take him in the top 10.
yeah. And I'm just saying, like, someone, even if you get an Alex Caruso, I think the team's not kind of sad. I think the team's happy with getting Alex Caruso in the top 10 because it's just someone that could start for you and someone that could play good defense and do their role.
Yeah,
And as long as you have another star or a star in the making with another pick or with another prospect, I think you're okay with that.
I see that. I see that. Okay, so number 9, we got another wing, Patrick Williams out of Florida State. So Patrick Williams is wait, sorry, I lost it. I'm gonna have to edit this part out. Sorry. Patrick
Yeah,
Williams
no
is
worries.
6'8", 225 with really good length, really strong frame, can guard multiple positions, the front court, the wings, um, tries really hard on defense, shoots off the dribble, comfortable inside the arc, beyond the arc, high IQ both ends. He has potential as a pick and roll player, a pick and pop player, decent handle, decent passing, good shot selection, 84% free throws.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing to me. Uh, the only thing is he gives up a lot of blow bys on the perimeter. Doesn't have a ton of lateral quickness. Light feet is gonna switches. He's gonna get killed, and then just some turnovers and travels and stuff like that in college happened a lot to him. I think he led his conference in turnovers, which is obviously not a good thing. But
horrible. Yeah.
so maybe a project like that. But he has a lot of skills that are going to be good for a team right away. Just kind of like bankable skills right away.
Yeah, he has to be in the top 10 because of how much
Yeah,
people talk about him.
yeah.
But I think he's the biggest bust in this
Well,
draft
really,
because the amount of turnovers he had as a not point guard, like a non-point guard, to have this many turnovers is crazy. So I just think he doesn't have the greatest handle, and I think if he doesn't have the greatest handle, I don't think he could be a 1 to 3, and I think he's better suited for maybe the power forward spot. And I think he's too skinny at 225 right now for the power forward spot. Maybe add 5 to 10 more pounds of muscle. But he's just a 3 and D player in my opinion. I can't see him creating offense because of his handle.
really, I think he has a better handle than you think because if you look at the turnovers, um, they weren't the types of turnovers that you would normally think of. A lot of offensive fouls and stuff like travels and stepping out of bounds and stuff.
Yeah.
That is where the majority of his turnovers came from. Obviously, if you're stepping out of bounds and traveling, you don't have the best handle in the world. But
Hmm.
I don't think he's a player without a handle like some of the like the uh, Sadiq Bays and or the some of the other wings that we mentioned. I think
Yeah.
he has a better handle, more potential to create his own shot. And when you are able to, he shot well from the free throw line, good shot selection, decent passer, and is comfortable shooting off the dribble. I think that's a
Yeah.
really big thing at his size. I think he has more potential than you think. Obviously, there is bust potential with that lack of perimeter defense, and if his
Yeah.
handle is just non-existent and turns the ball over, obviously there's a ton of bust potential there.
Hmm.
So I think of Tobias Harris when I read the good things about him.
Ooh.
Like if the handle gets cleaned up, if the shooting off the dribble is still there, if the shooting off the catch is still there, pick and roll, pick and pop potential, good passer, good shot selection. I think those check a lot of the Tobias Harris boxes. And then also Tobias Harris is not the greatest perimeter defender in space. So just I see a lot of Tobias Harris in him.
Yeah, I see Hollis Jefferson as someone who can be a playmaker, who can get the ball a lot, but I just don't think he could do it at a starting capacity. I think off the bench, where he could be a playmaker at like that 4-3 spot, I think he could do. But I just can't see him being a starter in this league.
He's a way better shooter than Rondé Hollis Jefferson, though. Way better shooter.
Yeah, but we'll see if it translates because I don't know if he has the same playmaking as Hollis Jefferson.
Rondé's a decent playmaker. Like
Yeah,
he's actually decent. If he could
yeah,
shoot, he'd actually be a really good player.
yeah,
Okay. So now number 8 is kind of one of the most argued about and disagreed about players in the entire draft. Killian Hayes, the point guard out of France.
yeah. Okay, so obviously we're both high on him. We both had him in the top 5 of our prospect list. He has amazing size. He's good at the pick and roll. He's good at basically everything you want a point guard to be good at. He's good at on the defensive end. He's good on the offensive end. He knows how to run an offense. He knows how to read defenses. But the thing that's gonna hold him back is his left. He only has one hand, and he can't do anything else. And he's gonna. And the one thing that people always point out is he struggles with quick guards. The NBA has 30 quick guards on every single team,
Yeah.
and then they have 30 quick guards on every single G League team. So if you're really gonna struggle with quick guards, you can't be a point guard. You're gonna have to bulk up and switch to the shooting guard spot,
Mhm.
and it's just gonna be tough for him because he has a lot of pluses, but he has a lot of negatives that he needs to fix.
Yeah. So like you said, he is not the most he's a good athlete, but not like the quickest first step you'll ever see, which is why he would struggle with some quicker guards that are defending him. But the thing that's holding him back is not that is not he would be the number one pick if he had two hands. If he
Yeah,
didn't only dribble with his left hand, only go to his left hand, completely rely on his left hand, he would be the number one pick in the draft. He is one of the best pick and roll playmakers, passers, scorers in the draft, probably the best, honestly. Um, when he finishes with his left hand, when he gets to it, he's amazing, finishing it with floaters, finishing at the rim, all that stuff. Uh, Mid-range shot making beyond the arc, off the dribble, step backs, side steps, really, really creative shot making with the footwork.
yeah,
Good size at 6'5", strong frame, ton of defensive potential there, hopefully. Um, but like you said, it's the right hand and also the handle because he only dribbles with his left hand and he
mhm,
doesn't have a lot of dribble moves to generate space in tight spaces. And the defense isn't there yet, but there's a lot of potential there. Um, yeah, it's just the right hand.
yeah,
That's it. If he had a right hand, he'd be the number one pick.
yeah. And I literally think the perfect comparison for him is Jeremy Lin. The reason Jeremy Lin is not Linsanity anymore is because people realize let's force him this one direction and he can't do absolutely nothing. And if Killian Hayes,
Oh,
they already know it, so they're already gonna force him that other direction. And if he's bad that direction, he's not gonna be an NBA player. And if he's able to learn and be good in that direction, he's gonna be one of the best point guards in the league.
I'm gonna be a little more optimistic with a guy who's in the top 8 of a draft. I'm gonna say another left-handed point guard, D'Angelo Russell. I
Yeah,
think the the ways they can score with the creativity beyond the arc and the pick and roll playmaking, and D'Angelo Russell's a really really good passer too. Uh, the ability, the size and length at the rim, and the strength and all that stuff. I see D'Angelo Russell, but like you said, his weak handle and left hand, the reliance on his left hand could hold him back from ever being a primary playmaker on a team, even
yeah,
starting on a team. Like you can't even play off the ball if you can only if everyone in the world knows you're going left, right? Some people, like we already said, see him as the best player in the draft, and I
hmm
think those people are betting on him because he improved kind of consistently in
yeah,
France. Obviously, we didn't watch him too much, but by all reports, he uh, just kind of constantly got better. And if he keeps getting better, if he keeps getting more better on the defensive end, more consistent from the 3 point line, develops any right hand whatsoever, he could be the best player in the draft. There's
yeah,
no ruling that out at all. Um, yeah, and the thing I want, so I'm just thinking he's projected at number 8, right?
yeah,
And we know the Knicks are drafting at 8, and they need a point guard, right?
yeah. Linsanity 2.0.
Okay, yeah, Linsanity 2.0, but R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle are on the roster right now. And if Killian Hayes joins that team, I'm
Oh,
gonna over under 3 right-handed dribbles taken a game for that team.
I think you run a unique. It's called the Knicks zone, where you just
Mm-hmm.
put all your players on the left side and you
Uh,
leave the right side completely open, and you just beat them by 35 every single game, and they get the number one pick next year. So it's gonna be horrible if he gets drafted by the
oh
Knicks.
my god,
I
it's gonna
hope he,
happen.
I hope he falls to like the. I don't know where I hope he falls. I hope he goes to the Spurs, but I don't think he's gonna fall that much. But
We'll see.
if he gets that right hand, then he is
Oh
D'Angelo Russell.
yeah,
But if he doesn't, it's Jeremy Lin. and that's a big drop off, and that's
Yeah,
that's scary. That's scary.
I think he could be if he gets the right hand, he could be D'Angelo Russell, who is D'Angelo
An
Russell is
all
a good
star.
playmaker. He's a good
Hmm.
playmaker, but I think he's a better playmaker than D'Angelo Russell, and could is actually like a true point guard who is 6'5" and happens to be a really good scorer and shooter.
Yeah, but it's a
Okay,
big
so
if.
yeah, huge if. Okay, so now coming in at number 7, Isaac Okoro, the wing out of Auburn. So
Yeah,
Isaac Okoro is long and strong and quick to defend. He can defend guards and forwards. Big body, kind of a decent handle, kind of a good passer, explosive finisher, really good rebounder. Um, Kind of the prototype, probably the best defensive prospect in the entire draft, just based on his body, his quickness, and he has some offensive skill with the handle and the passing and stuff like that and the finishing. But I mean, under 30% from three and under 70% from the line, you don't really see that out of 3 and D players who are in
yeah,
the top 10. But I think his defense is that good. And there are players who are similar to him who have developed the ability to shoot threes and developed the ability to be better from the free throw line that are really good players in the NBA today. And I'm going to bring up another one in a minute, and I think you can probably guess who it is. But
yeah. I think the obvious comp for him, who's a great defender that can't hit his threes, but is considered 3 and D, that's Danny
Justice
Green.
Winslow. Oh,
Danny Green is an all NBA
2020
defender.
Danny Green and 2019 Finals Danny Green, you mean?
Yeah, he's an all NBA defender, and he just can't hit threes, even though he's considered Deadeye as his nickname. He
Yeah.
just can't hit a three to save his life. And that is what Isaac Okoro is. He's going to be an all NBA level defender, like 2, 3 years into his career. And then he's not going to be able to hit his threes. And if he's able to hit his threes, he'll be 2019 season Danny Green. And if he can't hit his threes, then he'll be 2020 Danny Green.
See, I think he is longer and stronger and quicker than Danny Green. So I think he has more defensive switchability and versatility because he can probably guard
Yeah.
bigger players than Danny Green can guard. And Danny Green has no handle at all.
Hmm.
But he has a decent handle and is a decent player passer as well, and a decent like explosive finishing and rebounding and all that stuff. That makes me think of OG Anunoby, right? OG Anunoby was a terrible
Yeah.
3-point shooter coming into the NBA. Awesome defender, really long, could finish at the rim, um, could outstrong players, kind of a decent handle, not great, but okay. Plays well within the team. And if he could make any threes whatsoever, he looked like one of the more important players on the team because he was always guarding the best guy. And if he could knock down the corner three, if he could knock down the set three, just standing there waiting for the ball to get passed to him,
Yeah.
obviously OG has kind of leveled up past that this year.
Hmm.
And I can see a similar track for Isaac Okoro. Another guy I already said, Justice Winslow, is kind of a guy
Yeah.
who never developed that 3-point shot. So I think low end Justice Winslow, high end OG Anunoby, and OG Anunoby is not even done developing yet. So like I see
Yeah.
them as very similar players.
Yeah. The only reason I had Isaac Okoro with Danny Green is because I actually like expect him to get all NBA votes for defensive. Like I expect him to be in the all NBA second team, which Danny Green was in. Like as much as people hate on him, he was an all NBA level defender. So I expect Isaac Okoro to be better defensively than OG and Justice Winslow
Really,
2 years into his
those are
career
good
already.
defenders. 2 years into his career,
Yeah.
those are some really good defenders. And
Hmm.
I agree. I think he's more similar in size and build to those two guys. And his
He's only six
offensive,
six. I don't think he's gonna
yeah,
play
but he's
small ball
he's he's
center
really
like OG did.
true. But I think he's longer than Danny Green. Anyway, I like
Yeah.
the Danny Green comp, but it all comes down to the 3-point shot. If he stays shooting 29% from three, he's not going to look like a first round pick.
Yeah.
Okay, so now another coming in at number 6, another player that a lot of people disagree on, but a lot of people who love him. He's one of the most fan favorite players in the draft. Obi Toppin, the forward from Dayton.
Yeah. So from now on, everyone's a starter in my opinion. And starting with Obi, he's 6'9", 220. He's played 4 years of college ball. He's 22 years old. So he's going to be ready to come in and produce.
Yep.
And he has a good offensive game where he can score on the inside, and he has a decent amount of tricks up his bag. He has an incredible leaping ability
Yep.
where I honestly think he could be one of the best alley-oop pick and roll runners, depending on which team he lands on. If he gets a good point guard, he could get a lot of easy dunks, easy oops. He could be a good fast break player because of his leaping ability. You can get a couple points here and there from that. But I want the cons about him is his shooting. Like how is that going to translate? Can he be a good shooter? If he's not a good shooter, then it's going to be tough for him. And can he switch onto small guards? Can he guard the point guard? Can he guard the shooting guard? Can he guard small forward? Yeah, can he guard some small forwards? I think he can guard most small forwards, but can he guard some of the smaller ones? It's just going to be tough for him.
Yeah, so you don't see guys with his level of athleticism and leaping ability and explosiveness stay longer than a year at college.
Hmm.
So it's kind of weird that he played so many years at college. But like you said, 6'9", 220. I think he is kind of the perfect offensive player. He is a tweener. He could conceivably be a small ball five, and he could in
Yeah,
bigger lineups could slide all the way up to the three. Um, you can run him in pick and rolls because he's so explosive and such a good finisher. You could run him on pick and pops because he's a low volume but an efficient shooter, like you said. That needs to continue to he needs to continue to prove that. Good handle for a big guy like that at 6'9". Can pass. He can run like you can run whatever you want with him because you can do anything. You can run dribble handoffs, fake handoffs. You can attack mismatches. You can give him the ball if you want him to create a shot at the end of the clock. Pick and roll, pick and pop, like I said. Uh, there's a couple everything about him is just defense. If he was an average defender, he's the number one player in the draft. He just is. He's a perfect offensive
yeah,
player, but he is maybe the worst defender in the draft. Like maybe even
hmm,
worse than like some of the point guards, the 6 foot point guards we had at the end of the first round. Like he
yeah,
is that bad of a defender. He just has a weird body, really high center of gravity, really like long arms, big shoulders, but skinny legs, long skinny legs. Really cannot defend in space. Doesn't matter who it is at all. Gets pushed around in the post because of that high center of gravity, and is also not a great rebounder. So if you're drafting Obi Toppin, you're getting a guy who is going to be one of your better offensive players right away, but always going to be one of your worst defensive players. So the team that drafts him is going to have to weigh that. And I think a question we both brought up before is you just said he's a guaranteed starter. I don't know if he is with that defense. I think he's obviously gonna he will start at some point, but that defense is so bad, and if that doesn't improve at all, I don't know. He might be limited to being a really, 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 really good bench player.
I just need a guaranteed starter, as in he's gonna get starting minutes the first season. Like I
Oh,
expect everyone in the top six to be a starter the first season.
yeah, okay.
I don't know if they're gonna keep being a starter because Obi Topping. My comparison to Obi Topping, I would rather have the comparison, and that's Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's only
Hmm,
24 years old, and I'm saying I would trade a sixth pick for him, and that's an overvaluation on him. But Aaron Gordon could do absolutely everything Obi Toppin could do, and it's just better defensively. So it's gonna be
that's
an
fair.
interesting. It's gonna be an
It's actually
interesting.
really good. Now,
Yeah.
what about Kyle Kuzma? How do you feel about that comp? Bad
Oh,
defender,
that's a better comparison because they're both horrible defenders.
bad
But
defender, but kind of the perfect offensive four. Switcher, like tweener, 3-4, maybe even conceivably a small ball five.
yeah,
He's more explosive than Kyle Kuzma, but
way more explosive.
I
Yeah,
see I see a lot of the skills that Kyle Kuzma has in Obi Toppin.
yeah. The thing is, Obi Toppin's gonna be above the rim player,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
I really haven't seen Kyle Kuzma
no,
dunk the ball that much.
yeah, no.
Yeah,
If Kyle Kuzma gets the ball, he's shooting it. He's not
yeah,
wasting time trying to get to the rim.
yeah.
Uh, and a lot of people. This is not my comp, but a lot of people bring up Amari Stoudemire.
No.
I don't
The
know.
thing with Amari Stoudemire is he played so long ago. The NBA is not like that. Like Amari Stoudemire would have to develop a three-point shot in this day and age.
Yeah,
So it's hard to compare a player that didn't need a three-point shot, which is why I don't like comparing players that are from so long ago.
yeah, I don't like it either. Okay, moving on. We got another big. Uh, Onyeka Okongwu out of USC. So I I really 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 like Okongwu. So he's a six. The thing is, he's a 6'9" center. That's pretty much the only knock on him that you could have at
Yeah,
all. Uh, really mobile, high defensive IQ, pick and roll defense, shot blocking, anticipation, elite, like I said, elite pick and roll defender, switches onto the perimeter, crash to the offensive glass, really effective offensive rebounder, high IQ on the offensive end as well. He's got touch, finishing. He can finish on the pick and rolls, play above the rim, really good footwork, decent in the post, has a handle for a big guy, passing, literally everything. Uh, I mean, other than the fact that he's 6'9" and doesn't have a great shot yet. He's shown flashes, but does not have a great shot yet. Those are the only two things.
Yeah, but you could be great on the offensive end, but when you don't have a shot, you kind
Yeah.
of don't have an offensive game.
Yeah.
Uh, Key example, Ben Simmons has so many skills on the offensive end, but since he doesn't have a shot, he can't really demonstrate them in the half court scenario.
Yeah.
With Okongwu, it's all about defense. That's what has him as a top 5 pick. Because even if he can't develop a shot, he's going to be able to anchor a good defense, in my opinion, at least. Like
Even at 6'9", you think?
I think he could be a Bam type defender.
Yeah. Well,
Where
Bam is the guy you think of like automatically.
yeah,
He checks every box that Bam does defensively. Um, sorry,
he
I
doesn't have the
interrupted you. Go ahead.
playmaking. He doesn't have the playmaking that
Yeah.
Bam does. So that's the one knock on him. And I think the ceiling is Bam. Like if he hits everything, if he keeps improving, he could be Bam. But his floor is not that bad too. I think a Tristan Thompson, someone that could just go get you
I
rebounds,
like that. I like
do
that.
his role, run to the rim, get a couple easy points, get a couple offensive rebounds, and just do the job. And when you have a floor of Tristan Thompson, who's a starter on a championship team, I think that's a great floor.
I like that a lot. So Bam, he doesn't have the play. He's a good passer for a big man, but Bam is a good passer and good playmaker. Period. Right. So he
Yeah,
doesn't have that. Not a lot of bigs have that. And the other thing is Bam at least doesn't shoot the three, but at least Bam has a mid-range shot that he can go to if they sag off him. Okongwu doesn't have that yet. Needs to develop that a little bit more. He has shown flashes, obviously, but the main thing is just being 6'9". He's the best pound for pound defender in the draft, probably between him and Isaac Okoro, best pound for pound defender in the draft. But
yeah,
can he hang with the 7-footers? Can he hang with the Embiids? Can he hang with the Jokic's? Whatever. Probably not, but Bam doesn't either, right? When they play a
yeah,
big guy like that, Bam usually slides over to the 4. And that honestly might be more valuable in today's day and age to guard these freak athletes like Giannis and Anthony Davis and all that stuff.
yeah,
So if he just develops a little bit on offense, gets a little bit more of a perimeter shooting and mid-range shooting skill, and then beefs up a little bit for the defensive end, he's like you said, high floor, high ceiling player.
yeah. And a lot of places that are seem to land for him is Atlanta Hawks. And I think that'll be such a great spot for him
Yeah,
because he gets to learn from Clint Capella. He gets to play alongside his future power forward, John Collins, and then he has an amazing point guard setting him up. Like that's a great scenario
I
for
love the
him,
fit.
and hopefully he lands there.
I love the fit. I love it.
Yeah,
Okay, so number 4, almost into the top 3. Just outside of the top 3, we got Denny Avdija, the wing from Israel.
6'9", 215, great size, great playmaking, a tweener between small forward
Yep,
and power forward, great cutter, like amazing off ball, like
amazing.
probably the best off ball player in this
Highest
whole draft.
off-ball offensive IQ in the entire draft.
Yeah,
Yep.
easily. And he's an improving defender. Every single game he was getting
Mm-hmm.
better and better on defense, so he's not going to be a bad defender. The only cons for him is his shooting, 58% from free throw.
Yep.
And usually we like looking at the free throws to determine if you're a good shooter or not.
Yep.
Because if you have a bad free throw percentage, it means you have bad fundamentals, and then you're going to be a bad shooter your whole life. I hope that's not the case for him. I hope he could develop a better shot and get up to an 80% free throw and a decent 3-point shooter. Because if he adds that shooting, he could be a really good NBA player, and he could be a starter, and he could be like a top 3 player like on a
Yeah.
team. I don't think he could be the top player on a championship team, but he could definitely be the second player on a championship team or the third player on a championship team if he develops a shot. And I think that's all he needs to develop for him to be a good NBA player.
Yeah, I agree. So like you said, 6'9", 215 is a tweener automatically. 3, 4 on offense. He has a special like inside the arc game. Like he's a good playmaker in the pick and roll. He can play off the ball, like you said, one of the probably the best off ball player in the entire draft. But he has a handle,
Mhm.
really really good finisher, the mid range floater, layups, everything like that. Um, and and he's so versatile on offense. Like you could play him, like I said, at either forward depending on the matchup. You want to go really really small, maybe even center. And he's not the quickest, most like agile defender who's going to be able to stay in front of people, stay in front of guards. But he is a really good team defender. Works really hard. His defensive shortcomings are not because of a lack of effort. He he has a really high awareness, good positioning, all that stuff. So that doesn't scare me really at all. Like you said, it's just the shooting. 32, 32% on threes and 58% from the line. Now, I don't really understand how European basketball works. There's like different. He played on different teams, different tournaments, different leagues. I don't really understand it, and the numbers are kind of all over the place. But overall, those are the numbers: 32 and 58. Apparently, there have been some signs of him improving that free throw percentage, improving the 3-point percentage, but it's all very low volume.
Yeah,
If he's able to improve that, his mechanics look decent. If he's able to improve that, that'll open up the rest of his game inside the arc game. He can kind of be the perfect player because he can play on the ball, off the ball, play like 2 to 3 different positions, uh, create his own offense, play within the team, can kind of do everything. And I think
yeah.
the natural comp to him has to be Danilo Gallinari, maybe even
Oh,
Dario Saric on the low end. But I
I
think
think
Gallo is the good comp for him.
yeah. The reason I gave him Gordon Hayward because he's a better playmaker
Oh,
than Gallinari.
I
So I
like
just
that.
like
I did not think of that. I like that.
yeah, I just like the playmaking he has. And with Gordon Hayward, it's like they both don't use either quickness or strength to kind of get their shots going or kind of get the playmaking started. They kind of just use the flow of the game. And I think he's going to be a great player. Couple one or two All Star appearances here or there. I don't think he's going to be a preliminary All Star like the other three, which I think are
Hmm.
going to be preliminary All Stars. But he's going to be a good NBA player for sure.
I like that a lot because I think the size and the because he's probably at this point projecting to be a 4. um, Gallinari,
Yeah,
and he's decent in the post, not as good at Gallinari in the post, but just some of the finishes he has in the mid range and mid post and stuff like that. But even though he doesn't make a lot of threes, he plays a more perimeter oriented game, like you said. So that I like the Gordon Hayward comp a lot.
yeah,
And like you said, the ceiling completely depends on his shot. If he can score on the
hmm
perimeter, his elite game inside the arc will open up. And if that does happen, he could look like the steal of the draft, even taken as high as 4. He could look
yeah,
like this. He could look like the clear consensus number 1 pick if that
yeah,
happens.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so now we're finally to the top 3. At number 3, we have James Wiseman, the center from Memphis. So I mean, James Wiseman, thing you have to say first is 7'1", 7'5" wingspan, ridiculous athleticism, ridiculous athlete. Would be one of the top athletes in the league immediately. Um, like right away projects as a rim running, above the rim finisher. Ton of shot blocking potential with that length. Obviously, he's actually shown a lot or a little bit of shooting touch and perimeter skills with the handle, decent handle for his size, and works really hard, really good work ethic. Uh, he is a pretty. He's another project on in a draft that's full of projects, but he is the project with the highest ceiling, with the highest realistic floor and a really, really high ceiling in the entire draft. His defensive awareness on pick and rolls is not there. Needs to clean that up, but he has the body to be one of the best defenders in the entire NBA. Poor free throw mechanics, doesn't hit a lot of free throws, and the shot selection sometimes his perimeter game is okay. It's good for a center, but sometimes he falls in love with it and puts up some really ugly looking shots and some very questionable decision making, but that can all be ironed out. And when you have a body and just natural talent as good as him, he's a lock for the top 3.
yeah. All we could really talk about James Wiseman is his size. We haven't
Yep.
seen him play in like 2 years. Like we
Yeah,
haven't
that's
seen him
fair.
play since
Yep.
high school. So based off his size alone, he's gonna be a top three pick because you don't have
Yep.
someone moving this quick at 7'1".
Yep.
And that's what, just based off their sizes alone, I compared him to DeAndre Ayton
Yeah, yeah.
because they're both just so big and so dominant using their size that I
Mhm.
would like to see them develop a couple more 3-point shots. I would like to see them develop a more of a post game. And if both of them do that, they both could be like a Joel Embiid type player, but they have a lot of skills that they need to develop to enter that Joel Embiid range.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. DeAndre Ayton, Hassan Whiteside, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, but the realistic worst case scenario for him is a really good rim runner and a really good rim protector. Like if
Yeah,
everything else doesn't happen, he's going to be one of the best attackers on lobs and stuff in the entire league, and is going to block a lot of shots. But he has a perimeter game, or he has shown flashes of a perimeter game. And if that develops, he could be special. Who knows how good he could be if that actually does develop? Like you said, Joel Embiid type player.
yeah,
Okay, so now we're into the top two, and we have LaMelo Ball, the point guard, who played for the Illawarra Hawks of the Australian Basketball League at number two.
yeah. And I think people need to realize this. He's 18 years old. So he has his fifth year in the NBA, or his fourth year in the NBA, is Obi Topping's rookie year.
Yeah.
Like you gotta, like, for 4 years, you gotta do whatever you want with him and just like kind of teach him the way of the basketball, like teach him offenses, teach him spreads, teach him on the defense, like make him a good defender, make him read the different type of defenses thrown at him. Like he has so much time to grow, and he's 6'7". He has every tool
Yeah.
to be a great defensive player. Like his length, his speed,
Oh yeah.
he has everything to be a great lockdown defender. He already has a decent feel for playmaking. No one says he's a bad playmaker. No one
Oh
complains about
no,
him as a
not at
teammate.
all.
The only thing he lacks is his shooting. It's streaky.
Very
He
streaky.
does. He's not a bad shooter though. Like I think if he's on a team around good shooters and he gets more open shots, I think he could be a decent shooter. But the thing that's gonna hold him back and that might prevent him from being like a Hall of Fame career versus like maybe never making an All-Star team and just being like a good player
Yeah.
is his explosiveness. Like he lacks explosiveness. He's not gonna like dunk over two guys like a Derrick Rose type point guard.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be tough for him. But he has every tool to be good. It's just that he's currently is not that good besides his playmaking, but he has so much time to make up for it and be a great player.
Yeah. So 6'7". There are a lot
Hmm.
of big guards in this draft, but he's the biggest one,
Yeah,
and he's only 2 inches shorter than Onyeka Kongwu, who's going to be drafted as a
center.
center. So like
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy. And handle, really good handle. Uh, he is a special passer. He is some of the passes he makes and the throwing, dishing it out to shooters, the pick and roll passes. He is one of the most special passers in the entire draft. And like you said, a lot of defensive potential. The defense isn't there yet, but at 6'7", there's like kind of unlimited defensive potential there as a guard. Um, really, really, really like creative finisher with floaters and stuff like that. Like you said, he's not the most explosive guy, isn't attacking the rim and jumping over guys, elevating for these strong finishes, but he's crafty, makes a lot of floaters, has a decent layup package, and 82% free throws. So that bodes well for his shooting down the
yeah,
road, which has to this point been very streaky. And his form isn't as bad as Lonzo's was coming in, but it's not extremely conventional. Um, so I think low end. No, I think the comps for him have to be Lonzo Ball
yeah.
is one of them. Just the size and the special passing. Uh, but Lonzo Ball is one of the best defenders, point guard defenders in the league, and LaMelo is nowhere near that yet. Needs to
Hmm.
obviously develop that. But I think this is a comp you made one time is Trey Young. I actually really see that comp, and
Yeah,
not explosive Trey Young. You wouldn't ever call him explosive, but I think of him as the potential to be a 6'7" Trey Young, who to this point doesn't shoot nearly as consistently as Trey Young. He takes the
yeah,
same types of shots as Trey Young, the long threes. He make them or miss them. He takes them. Uh, they're both extremely special passers, especially in the pick and roll. They both have good handle. They're both really crafty finishing, and so he has the potential to be a 6'7" Trey Young with potentially good defense, with potentially good shooting. A lot of the
Yeah,
using the word potentially a lot, but if the shooting, if he's able to knock down those Trey Young type shots that he takes all the time, if his defense gets anywhere near Lonzo's, he could be by far the best player in the draft, and like you said, Hall of Fame career. But
hmm
low end, he could be Lonzo Ball with bad defense and terrible shot selection, which is like
yeah,
not an NBA player.
yeah.
So,
That's Michael Carter Williams. He's literally
mm,
so his high could be a 30 and 10 type player, which Trey
yeah,
Young is right now,
yeah,
which is a Hall of Famer, or it could be Michael Carter Williams, someone who's barely making the NBA. So this is a really scary pick to take. He's probably gonna slide to the three because of how scary it is. And man, but not a lot of people have Hall of Fame potential.
yeah,
So it's gonna be interesting. And I hope he gets the ball a lot his first couple years, because I want him to have the first 2 years just to shoot, do whatever he wants,
yeah,
and be a bad player to keep developing. Kind of like how
yeah.
Trey Young did his first half of his rookie year. Trey Young was kind of awful because he couldn't
Yeah.
shoot,
First half of his rookie year, yeah, he was.
and then he learned the game. And his second year, 29 and 9,
Yeah.
amazing. So
So,
man, Lamelo Ball, it could be
yeah.
anywhere from good Trey Young to MCW.
So imagine Trey Young at 6'7" though. That and
Yeah,
with the potential to be a defender, that's best player in the league potential. Like literally. Um
yeah.
and
It's still gonna be tough with Luca and Giannis, but
yeah,
he could
but
definitely be
like
up there.
yeah, but then like you said, it is a scary pick because if he doesn't, he needs to add muscle. If he doesn't add muscle, and if the shot stays inconsistent, and the defense doesn't come, like you said, Michael Carter Williams.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leaves only one player for the number one spot on our top three prospects, Anthony Edwards, shooting guard out of Georgia. So Anthony Edwards is a 6'5", 225 shooting guard, very long, very explosive, has a ton of three-level scorer potential because he has a handle, can facilitate for himself, can facilitate for teammates a little bit, um, shoots the three well, and has a mid-range game. And like I said, extremely explosive, runs the floor in transition, is kind of unstoppable in transition. Uh, the only cons with him really is number one, shot selection. Even though he makes a lot of tough shots, he takes a lot of really bad shots, and that's not going to work. Obviously, it was on limited volume in the shortened college season, but in the NBA, his shot selection is going to have to be cleaned up. And then he has a ton of defensive potential with his size and length and explosiveness, but he has not been an effective defender to this point because of his focus and
Mhm.
intensity.
Yeah. And if everything hits for him and he just becomes everything that he can become, I could see a Donovan Mitchell type player that just goes out there, could get you anything he wants, could score 40 on any given night,
Yeah.
can do anything, like can just destroy the league and set it on fire. And next to Cat and D'Angelo Russell, that would be amazing. But he also could turn out to be Dion Waiters, someone who just shoots fadeaway
Yeah.
threes, shoots corner fadeaway threes, someone who just goes up against a triple team and shoots. So like his shot selection is going to determine his whole career, and it's also he's going to have to accept being a third option, which I don't know how that's going to bode for him.
To start, he will. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the Mitchell comparison. I think of Victor Oladipo because
Mhm.
combo guard. You wouldn't call Mitchell. Mitchell is a shooting guard who's too small to play. Who's the size of a point guard, right?
Yeah.
But he Anthony Edwards is true combo guard size. Has some playmaking ability. Has a lot of defensive potential, even though he hasn't shown it, and can score in any way he wants. So I think of Victor Oladipo. But then you say like, let's say everything goes right and his defense comes along, he reaches that Victor Oladipo ceiling. Like, is that a first overall pick type ceiling? Because how, how is that perennial all star? Is that few time all star? Is that all NBA? I know Victor Oladipo was an all NBA caliber player in the year that he broke out, but LaMelo Ball's ceiling is a lot higher, I think, but the floor is a lot lower. I think Anthony Edwards is by far the safer pick
Hmm.
than LaMelo Ball because of his go-to skill. The only thing he needs to clean up to be a good player right away is that shot selection. But the
Yeah,
ceiling isn't anywhere near the ceiling of the number one picks in recent years.
yeah. But the biggest if is if LaMelo Ball could shoot, and that's such a huge if in today's NBA
Yeah,
that I'm not taking with the number one pick.
yeah,
Like I'm just gonna take Anthony Edwards, who I know could shoot, who I know could play make, who I just have to tell, hey man, don't shoot those shots. Give it to Karl Anthony Towns. Give it to
yeah,
D'Angelo Russell when you get in a sticky situation, and then he's good. And then with the Timberwolves, that's all you need to be a championship level team. You just need
yeah,
someone like Anthony Edwards to come in and kind of grow with this young core of Cat and D'Angelo Russell, and that's a championship level team. If this was like a Knicks that had the number one pick, who needed a bona fide star to do everything, I would risk it and take LaMelo. But the Timberwolves, no chance of taking LaMelo. I'm taking Anthony Edwards.
yeah. I agree. He's a lock for the number one pick.
Hmm.
So that does it. Those are our top 30 prospects. Obviously, they're going to be a lot different than pretty much any other big board out there. And I think, like I said at the top, team needs affect this draft more than most. And so we have you covered for everything. Mock draft is coming out in 2 weeks. Final predictions are coming out the day before the draft. Who knows when the season's going to start? But I'm super excited to see some of these guys in the league next year. It's one of the most. It's one of the drafts with the most questions, but also the most like it. I really want to see the answers to those questions, right? Like I want to see if
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball develops a shot. I want to see how good Denny Avdija is and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, so if you liked our top 30 list, if you agreed with it, even if you didn't agree with it, uh, you can subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star rating, leave a review, check out our YouTube channel, search the Floor Podcast, STF Clips, follow us on Instagram, all that stuff. Anyway, other than that, thank you everyone for listening, and make sure to come back next week for a trade ideas episode because there are definitely going to be at least a couple of trades before the draft, and then a mock draft, and then final predictions the day before the draft.